Okay, welcome. This is a editor tutorial from Saint Legend. Requested editor tutorial on how to use generic filters. Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to try to go as slow as I can and explain to you the uses of generic filters. I'm probably going to break down the video into 4 or 6 parts because I want to show you different ways how powerful the generic tool actually is. Okay. So in order to find a generic filter, you can go to Tools, Triggers and Events, Filters, and Generic Filter. It will definitely give you a description. Well, when you click on it, it'll give you a brief description what things do in the bottom. Okay, but what a generic filter does is it takes a value and mathematically manipulates it into a different value. So 0 equals 0 is usually for unlocking stuff. So if you have 4 collectibles on the map and 4 if so say there's 4 collectibles on the map, okay? When you collect all 4 of them, a door will unlock. And this is what you could use it for. A generic filter will always need its own impulse at all times to power it. So set it to 1 tick is your impulse. Okay. Now you can turn off this interval and then turn it back on anytime you'd like when you get to the specific area, and then you can turn them on and have the things on. You can have a few interval triggers on as long as you don't have too many, but there is a bug in the editor which I'll get to in the last or one of the last ones. I can show you what I mean. But the editor should be able to perform simple tasks like this though. So every time you grab a generic filter, you go to on true, okay? Meaning that when 4 equals 4, it will turn off this event. The reason why you want to turn it off is because it will keep on sending an intervolt constantly. So you only wanted to send 1 intervolt. Okay? So you can turn it off. Okay? You always want a constant interval because when this number reaches 4, it will unlock the gate. Okay? So in this example, instead of unlocking a gate, we're going to change a color instead. So when we collect 4 collectibles, we will change a platform's color to red, which is going to be this platform. Either this or the bike or a first person game. If you want a first person tutorial, I have a tutorial on my channel. If you want more advanced tutorials, you can type in Trials Rising Red Links Official to give you great tutorials by Swamp Balls, and Swamp Balls himself also has great tutorials, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the community you'll find great tutorials as well. So this is a requested tutorial, and then you would want to go to data sources, variable data source. Then you want to go into this tool and select comparison value 1, press Y, select a new target. And yeah. And I think it's triangle on PlayStation to select new targets. And what we're going to do here, since we already have collectibles already preset, we're just going to throw down a bunch of collectibles here. So this is like a Metroid Prime pre-built that I built. And if you want to make advanced FPSs, you can make an empty map and do all your logic first and then build a map after that. This is just a lot easier. Just focus on your decoration. And then for each one of the collectibles, I already have an increase 1. Okay. Could be 4 targets here. We've got to double check. Increase 1. Increase 1. Increase 1. Increase 1. Okay. So we're gonna collect 1, 2, 3, and then this platform should turn red when we collect this one. Red, you see? Because if I zoom in, it says 4, and we shut off the event. See that? So, not to be so confusing, you can collect them in whatever order you'd like. Missile first, pink ball, then red ball, and then final one, red. So that's the first use of a generic filter. The second use of a generic filter can be used for footstep sounds. Okay? Now right here, I created a generic filter the same way. There is a power switch back there that's turning everything on right here, you see? It's turning on a bunch of generic filters at once. But for this, what we're having is we're using a game character speed tool, which could be found in data sources under tools. And what's going to do, it's going to calculate the game character speed. So anything greater than 900, which is the speed I used, it varies between what game you want to make. If it's greater than 900 value, the sound will turn on. Okay? And if it's less than 900, which is false, then the sound will turn off. Now, the sound I like to use is the snow one. You could use the footstep one as well. Okay, so you grab a footstep sound, tie the statistics, turn it all the way up because this is a really low sound, and you can tie it to a variable data source. Now, on true means that the sound will play statistically, and on false the sound will play non-statistically, meaning that if you put this sound far away from the map that what you want to build, then you won't hear this sound anymore. But when you're greater than 900 speed, then the sound will play. And this is the footstep sound. So you gotta match your animation movement of how fast you're walking with your speed. So right now I put it on 30 ticks and 600 milliseconds. You could tie this to a variable data source and then you can customize the speed of the footstep sounds. A lower number means a faster footstep sounds, and a higher number means a lower footstep sounds. And that's another way you could use the generic filter. Really useful tool. And then another way to use a generic filter, this is a little bit more advanced, is you can create less than and minus less than and greater 40 than. And what this is pretty much doing is creating a look up and look down for your first person gun, meaning that when it goes up high it will lock at 50, and then when it goes down below it will lock at 40, meaning it will go 40 degrees downwards and 50 degrees upwards. Even though these are the opposites kind of correl with the actual trigger, but you would just watch my first person build and you'll understand. I got this from Trials Evolution. There's a Trials Evolution build. Whoever built that in there knows what I'm talking about. Now we're going to go to a little bit more advanced stuff, okay? I tried building a combination lock today in the editor, and I'm not stupid. I looked on math.com, and math.com and I were right, and the editor was wrong. Okay, I tried to make a combination lock with inputting certain numbers. So basically what's going on here is you don't have to follow this part of the guide, but I have a dial. Okay, the dial is going to spin 360 degrees. Okay, now when you move the dial, it's only going to move 5 ticks per move. So meaning I timed it, and it's gonna move to position 2, position 3, and so on. So it's going to move to certain positions, and those positions are gonna jump to 30, 59, 90, 119, 149, 180, 209, 240, and 270, and then back to 360. The problem with this, the problem that I'm experiencing, sometimes it goes to 31 or 29 or 30, and same thing here. Sometimes it's 59 or 60 or 61. Sometimes it's 89, 90, or 91, and then so forth. It's very inconsistent. That's the bug that I ran into the editor. Okay? So I don't know what's really going on. And from there, it gets very confusing, and it's not very consistent. And then when you have too many of these at once, the editor seems to glitch out, and it forgets simple functions like turning off or turning on triggers because there's too many things happening at once. And a lot of people, including myself, have encountered problems like this. When there's too many things at once doing one thing, it can really screw up the logic. I don't know why. Maybe there's too much repetition, too many logic like things, even though it's the same thing over and over again, there's too many logic stuff. And Trials Fusion never did that, even in the beginning of Rising, when the game was not broken. So the first person build may look complex, but it's actually all different, so it's not going to break, if you know what I mean. So I can give you an example here if you want, tell you how broken it is. So we're going to follow this in order. So every time you hit a dial switch, it's going to stop, okay? But it's going to calculate by 1. So 1, 2, 3. all the way till the end. We're going to add 3 at the end because it's going to stop at 9. So we're just going to make this to 1 as well. Okay. One. Okay. We make that as 1. And now we're going to say this, it's going to stop at 9. So equals to 9. Okay. When it equals to 9, it's going to turn off everything. But we're not going to even do that yet. I want to show you how broken it is. When it equals to 9, it's going to make the value that's switching it to 9, which is this value, it's going to set it to 0 again. Okay, let's play the combination lock to see what happens. Okay, so we want to be able to see what we are doing. In order to test out numbers in the editor, this is a tutorial, I'm not going to go too fast. Go to the menu, go to track management. Actually, no. Hold down the D-pad, go to track settings, go to game mode settings, go to score and HUD menus under skill games, and select your score value. We're going to use position 6. We're going to select the value to a HUD that we don't have. And we're going to select the source, which is this, source 6. Press B all the way back, and then we're going, now we can test the value. So we start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. And it doesn't work anymore. Now we're going to play around with it. Obviously the reason why it doesn't work is because all the generic filters are off. Okay? So why don't we just turn them all on again, right? So we're going to go into the menu, select a new state event, turn on the first one. But we got to turn them all on because they're not going to work. And they won't work unless it reaches that number, right? Right? Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We just jumped to 5 for some reason. 6, 7. We just jumped to 8. We just jumped back to 4 again. Jump to 5. Jump to 6. And this is the problem I've been having with the editor, is it doesn't register anything. When this game starts, when you start this skill game, every single one of these generic filters, every single one of these intervals is on. It is on, okay? Now, we're going to not reset them. To give you another example of why it's broken. We have it to reset when able. We're going to turn that off. And we're going to play it anyway. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it's 5 all of a sudden, which doesn't make any sense. We told it to set it to 0, and it doesn't. Now it's 6. Now it's 7, 8. Back to 4 again. You see what I mean? Now we're gonna even do something even more crazier. We're gonna say reset the animation to see if that fixes the problem. Okay. And then we're gonna create a little bit of an interval trigger. And then turn it back on again. And now the reason why it doesn't work now, okay, is because when we go left on the stick, we're going to stop the animation, and then we're going to turn it on again, because it's just an animation being stopped. You understand? And I'm just going to say right now, this is not a professional gaming engine. This is the Trials Rising editor. There are certain things that the editor can handle, and there are certain things the Trials editor cannot handle. And this is one of them, a combination lock. So in my Resident Evil map, I'm just going to have a simple lock with no combination. You just go like this, unique animation, and that's it. Because it doesn't work. I've done button locks before and they work just fine, but the dial locks, they do not work whatsoever. You're gonna run into so many problems because the editor's math doesn't keep up and it just screws up the logic completely. I don't know what it is. You can probably do the combo lock, but it's just gonna be a pain to do. You won't be able to do it in one lock. You probably have to do 4 separate locks, put it on visible and hidden or some trick like that to make it seem like it's the same lock, but it's a different lock. And that's just way too tedious. So might as well just don't even do it at all. Okay? So when it comes to dial locks, the editor unfortunately cannot handle it. We're gonna go to a different map so I can show you one more thing in the editor, I would say, that you could do. So or 2 more things. We're going to go to 2 more maps, and this tutorial is pretty much done. The tutorial is pretty much done. I'm just going to show you other things you can do. So recently I made a game that Donut played called Phandrana Depths. It's an accurate, exact remake from Metroid Prime 1, Phandrana Depths, the Ice Lake level. And in this level, it's max complexity. The max complexity meter in this game is that meter right there. It's half for some reason. Okay? Don't ask me why, but it's half. Now another example you can have here you have a boss battle, okay? And so it's the same example here, okay? The boss's health is 150. When the boss's health reaches 0, then he will die. That's just another example. Now we're gonna go down here. I made an an elevator. We're gonna delete this. We're not gonna save the map. So over here, and then we're gonna delete this because we can't really see. Okay. So this is another example how to use a generic filter. Okay. Over here we have an animation, which is this elevator lift. Okay. Now the values are going too fast in this game, so you have to play test your elevator until it works. The elevator is going to go looping and second half. 10 seconds. So second half means half of 10, so 5. So when it goes up, it stops at 5, and when it goes down, it will go back to 10 and then reset, okay? But you can stop it at any time and make an elevator. And what I did is less than equals 0.10 because of that lag, but the values are going too fast. When it's less than equals, what that means is it's equals and then less than equals. So anything 10 or lower, it will stop the lift completely. Now above, it was the lift stops at 24, but I had to stop it at 23.90 because the lift stops at 23.90 or 93. And then on the less equal side, it will stop at 10 or 5 for some odd reason. So in order to counteract that, you must do a mathematical equation of greater or equals 23.90. So anything 23.90 or higher will stop the lift. Unless equals, anything equals to 10 or less will stop the lift. And you could do this with ammunition. If you have a first person gun and you want to shoot ammo, boom, 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 and then you run out of ammo, you could say 0. You could say less equals. So equals to 0 or less than 0. If it goes overboard, it will refill the ammo back to 50, or it will make the ammo 0, meaning you can't fire anymore until you pick up more ammo, if that makes sense. So in my Resident Evil skill game, which I'll show you next, which is the most complicated one of all, you're probably going to melt your brain. That's how you make ammo types and certain values and health bars. So this is how you make the elevator. Now we're going to go to the most mind-melting one. That took me a week just to logic. And it killed my brain. So let's go melt our brains together. Yeah, so this is my Resident Evil setup. Okay. And again, you want to set a template for your map. And if you want to learn how to do AIs, simple AI stuff, I have another requested editor tutorial here. So again, this is a health bar. We already learned about that. This is another type of animation. So based on the speed of an object, the object will stop or continue. Based on the speed of the object, we already discussed that. And this is my ammunition types. This is too much logic, I know, sorry. But this is my ammunition. Okay. So less, again, we're using less equals, greater equals, right? And what I'm trying to teach you guys here is with this logic, you can create max values. Okay. So it's a lot easier here, I think. It's not. Okay, so here is a health bar. This is my health, okay? So my max health is 9, okay? My least amount of health is 0, When I reach 0, I will die, and it will trigger a death animation. And after 5 or 10 seconds, it will restart the game. When I reach 3 health, it will change my health to danger. When I reach 5 health, it will put my health to orange caution. If I reach 8 health, it will reach my health to caution. If I reach fine, which is 9 versus 9 or greater, I will be fine. If I go anything higher than 9, there's a value that will set my current health to 9, meaning that I will never go past 9 because the max value is 9. So if I'm equals or greater, the value will always be 9. And the same thing with ammunition. If I set my value to 0 or less, which is negative, then my value will always be 0 and I have 0 bullets, meaning that my bullets won't work anymore. And you can set it up to where gun sounds don't work at 0 or less, or bullets or the emitter won't fire 0 or less. So it will emit no bullets. Okay? And that is the best possible way I can show you how to do value events with generic filter. The generic filter is a powerful tool, and you could do that stuff with it as well. So remember, equals, not equals, greater, less, greater equals, and less equals. I prefer less equals and greater equals for animations and health bars, just in case the value goes over, because the editor is not accurate and consistent. So remember, less equals just means equals and less at the same time, and greater equals is equals or greater at the same time. Less just means less than, and then greater means greater than. Okay? And then not equals is just not equals, and then equals is equals. Okay? So those are the several functionalities you could use as well. That's the generic filter. Now for the other game filters, should be pretty easy. Game started, game running, game ended, bronze, silver, gold, diamond. So if a player gets a diamond medal on a track, then you can make a special cutscene because he got diamond. And then a switch filter is pretty much like a generic filter, except you could 4 different case values at once. So what you could do is say you could select 4 different case values and select this to 4. So if you select 1, 1, 1, 1, then it will work because 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 equals 4, right? Or even better, you could say 0 for here and just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that is going to do is going to create a chain link. So let's just say if you wanted to turn on lights in a chain, you could do it this way. But I recommend you do it with set value events or interval triggers to turn on the lights that way. Yeah. So this video was for the generic filter. This tool right here, a very powerful tool. It has its limits, again with the dialogue. This 35-minute tutorial will teach you all the best uses of the generic filter. Remember, this is about numbers, it's about math. Very simplistic math, but you can take it to other levels of math, right? Hopefully the editor does support it. But with the dialogue, that just drove me insane last night. So this is an editor tutorial for the generic filter. I'm SinTheLegend. And if you want more tutorials, just request me one. So laters.